What is going on, everybody? This is the Digital Cypha. Welcome to the podcast. I am Ebonics, and we have Diozaels. How you doing, Dio?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Awesome. We are waiting on the Don
No,
CJG.
I'm already here.
What?
Oh,
Yo, for a guy who
I
had
did
to
it
run very quick and come back, yo, he got those tippy toe type walks, man.
Look, I got those tippy toes, speedy toes, bro.
You know,
Ninja.
Sam Fisher going on up in the UK. Usually you hear people closing doors in the background, but nah, not this guy.
Not this guy.
How you doing, Don C?
I'm good. Like, I've got the energy. It's a bright, sunny day. I'm happy.
Man, you sure
You
hate this guy
know,
laughing.
especially after. You know, we had a good little day the other day for the Halo fans. You know.
Okay,
So I'm pretty amped up and hyped. To say the
cool.
least.
All right, so let's go ahead and start off with the Halo then. How is Halo going on? We
Oh,
in the Twitter feeds, there was something very magical, according to the Don
Yeah.
CJG himself, that was released. He felt like crying. You know,
yeah. I
manly tears.
man tears. What's going on?
I was on Twitter waiting. I was refreshing. And it finally dropped, and man, it's magical.
Well, okay, what is this magic then?
So Free for Free dropped the latest Inside Infinite blog,
Mhm.
which is about Zeta Halo delocation for Halo Infinite single player, and boy, there were some very tasty screenshots were put out there.
Okay.
They were beautiful 4K images of the game right now, and looking at, you know, we all remember the infamous July demo.
Yeah.
We all remember that one,
Okay.
and you know, we've finally seen a up-to-date build from a PC version of the game, and it just looks beautiful. To be honest with you, it looks absolutely stunning,
So,
and
Mhm, go ahead.
it's great. I put all that stuff on my Twitter feed at the Don CAG as well, if you want to see it for yourself. It's amazing.
Why is this important? That's what I'm trying to figure out is why is it important to you? You know, you have all these other announcements that could have been done, but then there's Halo. Has Halo reached a point where it's kind of like, nah, you know, it's gonna come out when it comes out, right? I mean, how?
I feel like Halo's kind of, I hate to say make or break, 'cause I feel like it's passed around a lot for certain games, but I feel like Halo is at a make or break point now. We all remember 3 and Reach, legendary kind of games at a time, and you go into 4 and 5, and the general perception just kind of been negative the entire time.
Okay.
And I put out a forum post on Halo Waypoint, kind of before this blog dropped, and it's going on afterwards. Kind of get a feel for the general perception of the community. And before it dropped, there was a lot of kind of, I'm not too hopeful, and we know what's going on. But then after it dropped, and people have seen the progress what's been made in the 9 months since that July demo, people have been like, oh, I see the progress you made. Like, it looks completely different. You know?
Yeah. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
screenshots right now. It looks really nice.
It looks insane. So you know, we've got you kind of talk about the day and night cycle as well going on, and how
Okay.
it kind of brings us. Yeah, I feel really flustered speaking about it again. 'Cause, like, it was just so insane.
Did you
to
say
see for the first
flustered?
time. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
This is a different type of emotional connection you have in here on this podcast.
Yeah, well, I feel like Halo's for me has always been the game. You know, as the game I first started playing on Xbox Live and 360, Halo 3 was the one. And kind of, you know, I love 5. People have very mixed opinions about it, but seeing Infinite and seeing the community have faith franchise again. It makes me excited for the game to actually come out. It really does.
So
I love the detail, like in the sniper rifle picture. Like you
Mhm.
can even see like the bipod. Like it's pretty sick. I really like it.
Everything just looks like more fleshed out, you know.
Yeah.
Even like the foliage and the bushes, the water in that picture. It's. I think this is what the community really needed to really be able to kind of believe in 343 and Halo again. To be honest with you,
have we seen anything? Because this, what we're looking at is something very immersive. One of the things that plagued Halo Infinite was the enemies and how they kind of were rendered. Do we have any news on that so far?
I don't think there's any pictures, but I think there was a paragraph in either the last, might not be in the last one, might be in December blog, and they were kind of saying, we have heard the feedback about the infamous Craig the Brute meme and everything, and they say they're back in that demo and everything was kind of fully animated and whatnot, and they are kind of working on increasing character model details with beards and facial hairs and whatnot, just to kind of make things look a little less flat, I guess. Looking a bit like they looked a bit kind of stony,
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, pretty much until we get some new like pictures of like a profile of like a brute, right? Like that was like the main meme was the brute's face.
Right.
When we get that, then it's gonna be like time to pop the champagne, right?
Right.
Pop the bottle.
Yeah, I think that I would love to see a one-to-one direct gameplay comparison to what it was to how they've come now.
Yes. That's what I would love to see as well.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And the only reason why I brought that up because I know I would like to see Halo succeed. Another, full generation. I don't want there to be any kind of, loopholes, if you will, or like holes missing. Oh, we did a whole bunch of landscapes and vehicles and all these structural designs and mechanics, but then the issue that has plagued the launch of Halo is still at hand, and that was how the enemies look. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those type of guys that sit behind a TV screen and count pixels and resolution like that. As long as the game feels good, I'm good. I mean, we're gonna talk about Outriders because Outriders has its fair share. Not really bad, but just things that we've noticed while playing. I'm sure Don, you've seen some things too, or experienced some things. So we'll talk about that. But it's just it's one thing when you release a game and then it still has to be updated, but nobody really cares because they enjoy the gameplay. And it's another thing when your studio is on a microscope, and it's almost as though injustifiably let down, if that makes sense. I've just created my own word, but you've been let down due to the competition pointing things out, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's good. I looked at it as well, and I found it very interesting that the different atmospheric sceneries it wasn't just like skyboxes and day and night. It actually had the foliage and everything kind of changed with the environment too. So that's going to be very interesting. I would play it just to walk around that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
I'm
sure.
thinking, there's that one picture where you see like this starry kind of galaxy above you in space, and it's just like, I'm imagining, driving in a Warthog with your friends in co-op session just through the night, just looking up at that. It's just wow.
I got a question.
Soaked in the view, man.
And this is
question?
not really meant towards Don, but just an open question. Doesn't have to be responded to, but when it comes down to the Asian culture, when it comes to video games like MMOs and RPGs and such, they tend to be very detailed when it comes
atmospheric,
to
right?
atmospheric and sky and stars and the moon and everything.
Yeah.
Can you see something like that environmentally impacting, the Asian culture to start getting into Halo, mainly because of the environment?
Maybe. I feel like if out of all the Halo games, but I've been ever made, I feel if there's a game to do it, it's probably going to be Halo Infinite.
Cool. All right. So, outside of the major news that happened, which was interesting because this made more better news than this news coming up, we've had the state of play by PlayStation. Each one of us, except for Don, so that's only 2 of us out of 3, have a PlayStation. have a PlayStation. And it's mainly for some exclusives that we enjoy playing. But we're mostly Xbox people. But I took a look at the state of play. Dio did, and we have our reviews about that. Dio, what stood out to you the most?
Honestly, Space Souls. I mean, Returnal.
Returnal? Okay.
The one, yeah. Pretty much like, Dark Souls in space.
Interesting that you say that.
I mean, it looked like a quality game. It looked really nice graphically. I mean, I even like the gameplay wise, like the dodge and the combat seemed smooth. I would say out of all the exclusives I've seen so far, that's probably the one I'm the most excited about, honestly. Because I mean, even with Demon Souls, I mean, I would pick up a PS5 for it, but I mean, in the end of the day, it's not as hard as Dark Souls, and then it's still a remake of an old game. So this is something that's new and fresh,
Right. So I agree that Returnal looked good. When I was becoming immersed through the trailer of the game, if you will, it kind of reminded me of, what's the name of that game? The game on Xbox that's exclusive.
Which one? You got genre?
The alien joint, the one that looks like it's like an alien joint where every part of your weapon is basically a living thing.
Scorn.
Scorn, yes. It's like a clean version of Scorn. Scorn is a very grungy, you're inside a stomach of an alien kind of atmospheric feel, and Returnal is kind of like you're in a monolith. You're in a planet, you're going through a monolith, and these aliens are coming to attack you. But what kind of triggered that to me is when she was unlocking a specific, if you will, like can I say a door or maybe a portal or something? And she had to put her hand into something and then it moved and everything like that. That's what reminded me of Scorn, which is pretty cool. Pieces of that game remind me of other games, third-person shooter. Dodging was kind of weird. Dodging looked like it was more like a superpower than something that was humanly possible with the suit that she had on. But then, you haven't played it, so looks pretty cool. What you gonna say, Dio?
No, I definitely see that too. I could kind of see them being similar but definitely very different, right? Like where this is gonna have like that, that good feeling of power where you get stronger and you overcome, where I think Scorn is definitely going more for like that whole, how you're saying, more atmospheric, like it's gonna be a lot more horror driven, right? Like almost like you're hopeless and can't escape. So they're definitely 2 different takes on, I think, gonna be a very similar, like Scorn is definitely like a lot of body horror, right? I'm definitely looking more forward to that because I feel like that's more unique, right? There's not enough of that kind of stuff in the market at the moment.
And it's first person too.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. I mean, I like third person usually more than first person, but for something like that, for how horror driven it's going to be, I mean, we gotta stop talking about the same when we're talking about state of play,
You got lost in the love.
Yeah. Because that game looked really cool. I really do want to play Scorn. I really do.
First person horror games are good, man.
Yeah.
Really good.
Don, did you watch State of Play?
No, not really. I think I saw maybe 5 minutes ago on YouTube. But other than that, I didn't really.
There's two games that stood out to me. Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, and Oddworld. Now, I said stood out.
Okay.
I didn't say like that I would go out and buy the game. Kenna, I would buy. I think I would buy because I like that type of color. It has that Pixar kind of feel, but then there's a part in the trailer that felt kind of I don't want to say sadistic, if you will, but kind of like it was all pretty and everything in the beginning with these furry people and stuff, little bunnies or whatever, ground stuff. I don't know. But then as you get deeper into the game, you start realizing how corrupted or how evil things are. And there was a time when this person looked like they were damaged or whatever, and then they were being consumed by this Goliath type of thing. And I was like, that is interesting. That I would not have seen in that type of game. Fighting animals and stuff, but then seeing like monsters that are like evil to a certain extent was interesting. The funny thing is, it's base price, I think it's around $60 or a little bit over for that 4K. And apparently you can pre-order the game on the Epic Store for $15. So that's kind of weird. And what also came across to me was nothing in the State of Play said exclusive at all. There was, nothing said like exclusive to PlayStation. Everything was just when people talked about their own game, like the devs, they were talking about their own games. They were saying, coming to PlayStation.
Oh.
Right. That's what they were saying.
I didn't even pick up on that. So is Returnal not exclusive?
It may not be exclusive.
Unless I guess maybe because it was a PlayStation State of Play, maybe they implied exclusivity because of the event. But
I mean, look at Crash Bandicoot. Wasn't Crash Bandicoot on Xbox at one point?
I want to say yes, but I don't.
Kinda, yeah. PlayStation 1, that's where it first launched on.
Yeah.
And
I remember
it never really went on anything else until Activision, decided to do it like just a few years ago.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was that was interesting. Sifu, Sifu was the highlight for people on Twitter. I kind of like the direction. I don't like how linear it is.
Okay.
It feels like it reminds me of hey Don, you remember that Asian game? The guy, he's from the US and he goes over to China. He's a cop, but he ends up joining the triads.
Watchdog? No.
Yeah, no. Sleeping Dogs?
Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs, yeah.
If I have a feeling if they went open world, it would have felt like Sleeping Dogs because it's kind of, he fights with elegance, but then he has some bad vibes. Like he picked up a crowbar maybe and threw it at somebody, and he has certain weapons. You know what I'm saying? So there is some form of structure to the fighting, as though he's fighting as a legit, authentic martial artist. But then and it looks like when he dies, he gets older. He starts becoming more gritty with the fighting. That's a possibility, but that's kind of like how I looked at it. Because when he died the first time, he wasn't doing nothing but fist and legs. He came back with, beard and mustache. And then, he started being a little bit more, I'm gonna mess some people up.
A bit more aggressive.
Yeah, So I like that, but I'm wondering if it's gonna stick to linear direction. The devs say that there's no multiplayer; it's just a story-driven game. So that's that with that. But then they also announced Knockout City. This was this is what you talked about, Dio, with the, what is it called?
Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, it was in Nintendo Direct, and they were playing I call it beanball. Back in the islands, we call it beanball, where we bean people with balls. But it's called, I forgot what it's called. There was a game about it, something ball. What is it called, Dio? Come on.
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. There we go. Dodgeball.
Yeah.
We call them beanballs.
Okay.
But they showed a little bit more content in this, where how you can throw the ball. You can throw it above you, behind you. You can throw it sideways, and it auto targets the enemy, whoever you're throwing at. So
I think I saw some gameplay of this.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that looks pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, and it's definitely something that's not exclusive. So,
yeah, I don't think Sifu is actually ever.
The Odd World is another game, and I think back in the day that was a third-person adventure game, right?
It was always a platformer.
Platformer? For some reason, it reminds me of Lemmings.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, cause like they're like in groups. Like, I used to play the old ones. I wasn't super excited about. Like, I saw it, I was like, okay, this just looks like every other Odd World I've played before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good game, but I kind of feel like they've kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just I'm jaded or something, but I just kind of feel like it's a gameplay loop that has gotten tired at this point. I mean, it's kind of like Pikmin. I don't know if you ever played Pikmin on any of the Nintendo's consoles.
No, I haven't. But I heard of it. I heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people who like enjoy that kind of play style, you know.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised you didn't like Sifu more. What I liked about Sifu was that I thought the combat like looked tight. Like it actually looked like legit martial artists. Like they definitely had a good choreographer for the motion capture, I would imagine. With the dying and getting older, I don't know, because I haven't really seen any information on this from all the articles I tried to find out. I would imagine that it's kind of like maybe like a roguelike, where, you know, when those kind of games where like you get to a certain point and then you just die, you have to start all over.
Yeah.
I think eventually, I think that's the direction they're going to go in, but I mean, I could be wrong, but that was actually one of the ones
kind of deal.
Yes. Kind of like that, yeah. But that was definitely one of the games I was more interested in, like, out of the whole state of play. I'll definitely say that and Returnal were my top two, you know?
Sifu, I think I need to see more of Sifu, because when I look at the game, I ask myself, how long am I going to be doing the same thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I see more, if I can see more of it, and I can see like a breakdown of different styles and techniques and stuff like that, then cool. You know, I think I can get into that more, because then I'm kind of like, I would like to see a game that has a little bit of Mortal Kombat as far as fighting configurations or mechanics. Not really heavy, like, you know, half circle with an X and then up, down, cross, and then going back to like the Y, you know, not like something like that. But when you do certain types of move and that person requires a combo, boom, 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 instead of smashing X all day, you do certain types of things. That keeps me in it.
Did you ever play Absolver?
Yes, I did.
How did you like that?
I didn't play long. I need to play more.
Okay.
Of it. Especially
I feel like I need to play more of that too, but I have almost like that kind of feel with this game. Only this game's trying to give it, even though like I don't know, like there really wasn't any storytelling in the preview. I think like you're right, they're trying to go for that Sleeping Dogs story. And that's why I kind of felt like the combat was what interested me the most, because it looked fluid and it looked real. I liked that, but I feel like the story's gonna end up being very generic and boring, because I kind of feel like this is just them trying to get into the Asian market, because this is Epic Games, you know.
I mean, but Epic is already in the Asian market. They're owned by Tencent, so
I don't know.
It can be any studio working with Epic Games while Epic Games publishes the game.
I don't know. It just seems kind of generic when it comes to the story so far.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It makes sense. It's by Slow Clap. That's the devs. So it's the same studio that made Absolver. Okay, it makes sense why it looks so similar to me.
Got you. So they ante up on their dev skills for this game.
Okay.
Hopefully. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade.
Yeah.
Somebody laughed in the background. That sounded like Don.
I was dead silent. I didn't say anything. A lot of wild accusations going on here.
Well, it's not. It's Final Fantasy VII is a great game of classic. It's a classic Final Fantasy game. Anyways,
Overrated.
I said it was great. I didn't say it was God's gift to mankind. Let's get it real. Anyways,
I thought that's what you were trying to say.
Hey, we can't say that about Halo, can we?
Hey, listen, Halo's a lovely game. We can't talk bad about it.
What confused me about this was it's a remaster of a remake. Anybody picked up on
A
it?
remaster of a remake.
So
like a 4K upgrade.
So they announced that, and they announced so Remake Integrate is not a remaster of the remake that they came out with like a year or two ago. This is like another game in the series, but they are releasing a free upgrade. So if you own the other one,
it's not free. You have to pay for you have to pay for it. You have to pay like $70.
Yes, because Integrate is a separate game. It's a completely separate game. Like that's my problem with this game. Here's what they're trying to do with the remake. All the Final Fantasy VII games that are going to come out are all going to be called remake, and then have an extra little name on top of them. So this is Final Fantasy Remake
like
Integrate.
A series type of vibe.
Yes, just like how they did with 13, I think it was, or 12, with the 13 with Lightning. They had all the different ones with different titles.
Well,
that's what they're doing with this too.
Can I say like Telltale's games, The Walking Dead, and they have like the 1, 2s,
kind of, yeah.
Because I don't know if I can put Final Fantasy 13 in the same boat with Final Fantasy 7. I like how they did like the lightning and everything, because I agree they were separate games, but it feels like Integrate is more like something like Halo Master Chief Collection. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Where
no, because it's not. It's still gonna be a separate game. So this is gonna be going over like the main story of Yuffie and what's his name?
Okay,
but
can you still play Cloud and those guys in the same game of Integrate?
I am not 100% sure, because like I said, like this is a separate game.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that there's going to be parts where those characters will be available, because that would only make sense to continue your save file. Kind of like how you could, like in the old Dragon Age games and the Mass Effect games, you could like download your old state progress to affect the story later on. But what you're talking about with the upgrade, there is an upgrade coming, and that's for free. So if you already own the original, the 4K and all that stuff is going to be a free upgrade. Or if you buy it now, or when it comes out, it'll be an upgrade, which is coming in June or something. But Remake Integrate is just going to be a completely separate game for their story. I don't know if you could skip it and still progress. So, like, let's say you don't care about her as a character, right?
I'm sorry, say it again. Dio?
Could you 7 story just feel like is really, really getting milked?
Yeah, sounds.
In my opinion,
yeah, sounds way overcomplicated.
Yeah. Only because, like, I mean, she's a cool character, but I don't think cool enough to get like a whole game, like dedicated to her. But then again, 7 has never been my favorite Final Fantasy. I've always felt it's been overrated, because I think that's what most people's first Final Fantasy was.
Okay. Well, it was the most commercialized of the Final Fantasy games of its time, right? Up until that.
Oh yeah, because it was the first 3D one. and
Gotcha.
it was like on the PlayStation 1. Most people, this is their first RPG ever anyway, and that's the main reason why it's gotten so much acclaim, right? Because people swear by it. And I'm not even gonna say even though Final Fantasy 8 is my favorite one, I won't even say 8 is the best one. It just as a personal favorite, like, because what I grew up with. But I would say, in my opinion, one of the better ones is definitely Part 4. But I don't know. This is gonna make its money.
So
either way,
you were correct with the free, and if you don't have it, it's $30. If you don't have the game, it's $30 or $29.99.
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
well, hold up. Although the game will be free on PlayStation Plus this coming March, Sony confirmed that the PlayStation Plus version will not be eligible to receive the free upgrade.
So that makes sense.
So you either need to buy the next gen version, which is $70, or buy the PS4 version, the latter of which I think is the better deal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
definitely go buy it now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So yeah. Interesting. It was an interesting state of play.
I honestly don't think so.
I said interesting because there was an expectation that state of play would have outdone whatever Xbox has done. I don't think Xbox has done anything but then release YouTube videos on like upcoming games, upcoming features, and tech upgrades and stuff like that. Unfortunately, the best value still. I mean, this is subjective, right? But the value, PlayStation wise, there you have to still use a USB external hard drive, right? So the slot that's within the PlayStation is still locked because of was it the overheating, or was it something going on with the internal joint? Anyways, that's not available until they fix that. And then a lot of people are. I'm referencing people on Twitter because that's where all the arguments are going on, and it's unreal.
As always,
it is unreal. Apparently, the Xbox Series S is the competition for PlayStation 5, not the Xbox Series X. The Xbox, it's weird. It's weird how things have just declined, and declined and inclined, if you will, because it's like the Xbox Series X is no longer the topic. It's on its own. It's in its own space, right?
Yeah.
And then the Series S and the PlayStation 5 is having like this fight. I
can see that.
I don't understand it. I understand what you're saying, Dio, but it just feels weird because it's how much? It's $300, $29.99, right?
Yep.
PlayStation 5, it's $49.99. Unless you got the digital version, but Sony doesn't want you to get the digital version. They want you to get the disc version. I think it is. So, and then I think at one point they were saying, the Xbox Series S has no 4K capability, and then poof, proven wrong. Especially with Outriders, that was the biggest thing. Oh yeah, you're not gonna be able to do 4K 60 with Outriders, and then lo and behold, boom, you can do 4K 60.
That was a bit surprising, especially because the whole push for a lot of people, say, Series S only says 1080p, this and this. And it's marketing, by the way, 4K.
The marketing for Series S was, a light version of the X. You're just missing out on 4K, but then you get. Can you even do 120 frames on the S? Not 4K, but just 120 FPS.
Should be able to.
I'm sure you could on certain games.
So it's kind of like they're all benefiting off each other, but then the 4K is kind of just reserved for the Series X, and now you're seeing the S kind of getting up to the X, but like touching the border of X, but not overcoming its capabilities because the X has more power than the S, of course. So that's what's going on, and I find it interesting. And I've decided, you know what, it's kind of dumb at this point. It has reached a level of stupidity where you're fighting over who's better, because it's like the 360. The 360 had the Elite, right?
Yeah.
And there was the Ultimate Gaming Machine. So nobody really talked about who's better than who, because everybody, even those in the Asian communities had a 360. So it was a done deal. And now that the Series X and X is out there, we're not really competing from a who has a games perspective. We're stuck in this subscription model, right? Where the Game Pass.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude, I have never been so confused about the direction that Sony's taking.
Yeah, I feel like we've always been in this kind of. I guess it's always been Xbox One, PS4, or PS3, Xbox 360. One console and in one direction. But obviously, I feel like Xbox kind of put that on its head, releasing 2 consoles last year.
Microsoft forced PlayStation to go a specific direction.
Yeah, and I feel like Sony just haven't been able to answer back to the Series S.
Well, actually, they have. They have, if you notice, they're, like I said, in the state of play, you don't see exclusives. You don't hear exclusives as they did. Now, this was a very hard thing for Microsoft before the Series X and S were announced. If you notice, Microsoft stopped showing exclusives for at least 2 years.
Yeah, there was a period of time it was getting a bit grim.
It was pretty bad. It's like Microsoft has no games, mainly because there was no exclusives, right? And then there was Ori and the Blind Forest going on to Nintendo, and then all the games going on Epic Store and Nintendo. It's just Microsoft spreading its wings into other platforms and seeing what happens. So now we're seeing PlayStation, as far as the direction. MLB 2021, I was playing that on my X, and I felt weird because when I popped that game on, right, it said PlayStation Studios right there before the game started, and I was like, wow.
It's so wrong.
I had to soak that in for a second. You know what I'm saying? Because I can go over to the PlayStation, pop in God of
Minecraft
War,
Dungeons.
But that's where I would see that. I mean, my heart started feeling a little weird about it for a second. Like what you doing on my X?
It was like broken the Matrix or something. The reality just fell apart.
Look over there, make sure it wasn't like a box like that was vertical. They're like, is that the same box? Yeah. Anyways, but it was you're starting to see that Sony PlayStation is moving in a different direction. And it's going to be interesting for the rest of the year to see what Sony does. I'm hoping that they become a little bit more multi-plat, so that people can play that God of War that I've come to love. I think that's the only game right now. I played Horizon Zero Dawn on PlayStation. I've played the Final Fantasy 14. I played God of War. What else did I play? Some other things, but I think God of War is the best game on that platform, hands down. Better than Spider-Man. Like, I can't even express how emotional that game is. You and your son fighting together, right? And how is it? Is it's kind of like in the Air Force is like your wingman. I'm not sure what it's called for the Marines, right? I'm not sure what it's called for the Marines.
It's like your battle buddy.
Somebody got your back 24/7.
Yeah.
Like you have a designated comrade behind you, and it's you and your son for God of War. And some of those combos and moves that you two do together is pretty cool. It's real cool. So I would like to see that hit multi-plat. PC, Xbox, Nintendo, Sega.
Don't hurt my feelings. There won't be no Sega consoles ever.
Yeah, the KFC console.
Oh, that KFC console for her.
Yo, Lewis, what is going on? What is going on? Thank you for jumping in. I would definitely like to see that go multi-plat. Because I think Santa Monica Studios deserve to be seen by everyone. That's just.
So that's why when you're talking about like the Series S doing so well and kind of being PS5's like direct competition, that's why I kind of expected with the state of play to like talk about PlayStation VR, right? Because we haven't had any new update on when's like the new. I mean, you can still use your PS4 like VR on the PS5 from my understanding, and it compensates to an extent. But I'm surprised they haven't really gave unless I've missed it, like some big news on like PS5's like big upgrade, right? Because like to me that would be like their only kind of counter. But I kind of feel like they've not that they've given up, but it's almost like showing how much of a gimmick it is, right? Because
they
haven't really fed into it. It's kind of sad because not like, you know, I want to miss out on VR, but I would like to see them at least do something with it, right? So maybe Microsoft be like, you know what, let's jump on this whole VR thing and do it better, or, you know, comparable. So I was a little disappointed with that.
I mean, I can see that the Xbox Series X would be the platform for Oculus Rift. Not Oculus, not the PlayStation one, but the other one, the HTC joint that's like $1,000. You know? And all these other VR platforms that can be, or peripherals that can be connected to the X to then leverage the VR experience, right?
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, because I mean, look what happened to the Kinect.
Yeah, I was just about to bring this up. I was going to say, do you feel like PSVR has kind of fallen into Kinect territory?
No, not yet. Not yet. They would have.
I feel like not yet either, but I feel like it could be on the way.
It could be on the way.
It could be on the way because the question is, how much money did Sony spend on PSVR and games? Because we have to look at it this way: how much did it cost Xbox to make Kinect specific games, and how many people bought the games? You know what I'm saying? Like, I still play Dance Central. I still play Kinect Sports.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
remember Xbox Fitness?
But you know what though? At least with Kinect, like, Microsoft made like a new technology that even if it's not used widely through gaming, it's still used for other things, right? Like they're still making contracts with like, you know, military and private organizations to use that Kinect technology. Well, where with VR, so there's so many companies kind of doing it. So I kind of feel like, you know, whether they're making money on it or not, I kind of feel like they're not. Sony's gonna have to do something because their player base who bought into it, because it's not something that was cheap. It was almost like buying another console. Those kind of players are going to kind of feel like, hey, what's going on? What can I do with this thing? Am I still going to be playing all these old ass games, or are you going to give me some new stuff? You know?
So, let me see if I can find out. I thought there was a Kinect 3.0. I think there is. Really? But the thing about it is the Kinect 3.0 is a industrial perspective kind of thing. I might be wrong. I might be wrong because it might not even be Kinect. I think they might have squashed Kinect altogether. And here's how I might be wrong, but here's how they knew that Kinect was worth something outside of gaming. And I could be wrong. Don't quote me. It was in the news somewhere. But apparently there wasn't. I'm not calling names. I'm not trying to get in trouble. Apparently, there was an Asian country that used the Kinect for surveillance on its borders. That's
okay. I've not heard about that.
They used all three aspects of the Kinect. They used the night vision, they use the infrared, and they used whatever 3D technology in it to leverage its to do, you know, they had it there, and it's somewhere on the web. I have to find it, but I found that interesting because they basically said, okay, we're not going to use you as a gaming peripheral. You're going to become more of a CCTV.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It's a weird transition they went from. But it's logical and it makes sense.
Now there is. I know you guys know about the, what is it called? HoloLens.
Yes.
And there's a 2.0 for that one, and I think the dev kit is $3,000, and then the original, I think is anywhere between maybe $1,000, upper or lower between $1,000.
That's saving for a HoloLens.
Well, surprisingly, this week, Epic Games released a article on how you can utilize HoloLens with the Unreal Engine.
Oh, okay.
Now,
cool.
HoloLens was something that was announced during the Xbox One announcement. And
yes,
then it did not.
A long time ago.
Yeah, it did not get the day of light of kind of like where it was going. It just dropped.
Yeah.
And this is why I think there's a Kinect 3.0, but it's not being marketed as such. Apparently, there was this camera-looking thing, half the size of the Kinect, very sleek and slim, in a sense. It looked... If it was a PlayStation camera, it would have been like the highlight. But it's an industry tool.
Yeah.
It's an industry tool. And it does motion detecting and everything, and it works with the HoloLens. So that's going to be my assignment for next week, is to show some details on the HoloLens, so at least we can show what's going on with that. But
please,
just to piggyback on what Dio was saying, is that
that was me.
No, it was Dio. That when Microsoft creates something, they're not thinking in one specific direction. They're thinking how this can work for a slew of their product, of their ecosystem, the industry of innovation and industrial technology and stuff like that. Like, for instance, right now the HoloLens is used for engineering and architectural stuff. Yep. Right? So they pushed it that direction and making money in that direction. So we as gamers can say Kinect was garbage. Micro says like, man, I'm making millions off of making on this elsewhere.
Exactly.
So y'all can say whatever. We're still gonna be here making games and doing whatever. So, anyways, we are looking at Outriders. For those who do not know what this is, it is a game that was released by People Can Fly. I believe I said that correctly. Published through Square Enix. Dio, you've had some time. Don had some time. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
How did you feel? Like, well, first and foremost, how did you feel when you tried to get in the game on its launch day? Like, how was it for you?
So for me, I got in I had to try a bunch of times, and then I finally got in. I think my third try, I got to play for up to the part where you were supposed to learn how to shoot, and then I got cut off, and then I couldn't play anymore. And I think that's because the whole Xbox Live disconnect that day for the 5 hours, and then I had to clear my cache just so I could play it, which I didn't realize that was the issue. Thank you, Mons, for that. But when I got to actually play, the gameplay itself is good. I mean, you feel like you're playing like Gears or what's it called, The Division.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But I haven't got to experience it yet because I got to get to higher levels. But I like the direction for where the talent trees and the classes are going, because that's what I want from a looter shooter that I feel a lot of these games are missing out on. There seems to be, at least for that part of the game, seems to be a lot of customization. I haven't seen so much with the loot, because the loot so far I found is very basic.
Mm-hmm.
But if they handle the loot any way that they're handling their talent tree, this is already, in my opinion, more interesting than Destiny, Anthem, Warframe, The Division, all these other looter shooters. I mean, the only thing that I could probably say is probably better still so far is probably Borderlands. And that's only because Borderlands has a more interesting story. I feel like the story for this, it's almost kind of like a generic sci-fi channel,
Yeah.
It wasn't terribly bland, but it was kind of bland. Kind of reminded me of the Defiance from the 360 PS3 days, in a way. So I'm like kind of waiting.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
are they gonna launch a show to counteract with this? Am I gonna have flashbacks?
So, Dio, when you spoke about loot, the loot and how, I guess you were more interested in how progression was going to be in the game, right?
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers what that means when you were thinking more on the progression side? Like, because as a casual gamer, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and he said, "Man, you're a casual gamer." I was like, "Man, I'm a casual hardcore gamer." Like, I learn, and then I learn, and then once I've mastered my abilities, I go in hard. So I'm a medium casual, hardcore, whatever. Anyways, whatever. So progression is like a definition that is thrown out there.
Yeah.
Right? But what does progression mean to you when you play this game and you was very concerned about it? What did you want to see? What have you seen that makes you like it? And what do you want to see in the future to keep you playing?
So far with progression that I've seen the talent tree, and that's a form of progression just right there, right? By leveling up and gaining new skills and getting new stats just from that, which is great. But when it comes to loot, what I think a lot of these games keep doing, which is very generic, I mean, you can even say like Marvel Avengers, right? Because I mean, that was pretty much like loot-driven game. A lot of these games suffer from this problem where it's just like stats, right? So like you don't even have to think about it. You just look, oh, this is higher stats, I'm going to put this on. I want a game that you're not just getting stats, but it gives you a reason to be like, oh, well, is this actually better because this affects this skill or this affects this type of element. Like I wanted to actually make you question, like, oh, okay, if I could actually make different builds, right? Like, so if me and you are playing the same class, we're not necessarily playing exactly the same way, right? Because you'll make choices based not only on your talent tree, which the talent tree seem to branch out in 3 different ways, which is great. So even if you're the same class, just that in itself is going to make it different between players. But if they could do that with loot, that's going to be like, mwah, perfect. Thank you. I've been waiting for this.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I felt like everything I got gear-wise was very much a case of just felt like a higher stat version of what I had before. I did go on like the in-game, like there was a vendor, and it seemed like there was a piece of gear he was selling what had, I guess, a perk on it, what could maybe tie into a skill tree, and maybe that's, maybe it is in there, it's further later on in the game, but I agree. Like I didn't play as much as you guys yet. Played about an hour or 2 earlier this morning. But yeah, I like the Foundation as a shooter. It feels good. It feels very kind of Division Gears like. But I felt like in terms of story, a bit generic.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about what was going on. I was just like, okay, I'm just some dude, And yeah, I think it's a good foundation, and I think, seeing the full game, I think there's a lot of potential for what could be as a looter shooter, but I don't know from what I've played from the game so far. I don't know if it's a great representation of what's to come.
I definitely agree. I mean, the gameplay and the mechanics seem very strong foundation. It's just the story itself, and even the voice acting. I mean, it's not bad voice actors, but like the dialogue is kind of cringy in some ways.
Yeah,
like, some of the quests I've seen is like,
yeah, I feel like I'm watching
almost
like a mid-2000s TV shows.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, and honestly, as long as the gameplay is good and the loot's good, I don't really care about that. I can get down for a game like that. You know what I mean? Would it make it a better game? Sure, but I think at the end of the day, most people are going to play a game based on the gameplay. And
that's what I was saying. Like this, well, you said it, but offline, I was like, man, this reminds me of the Defiance because of the story was there, but then it wasn't there. It's like if you didn't pay attention in the beginning of the game, you're probably just stuck on fun and the experience of just going through the linear path that this game has. Now the game is not completely linear. It has branching side quests that can be done at any point in time in the game. Even when you're high level, you can come back and redo them and get higher weapons and gear. But just the story. There's Mrs. Spiegel there.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
There's the story. Okay, so here's some information about it. The guy who helped put this story together, he was involved in Destiny, Telltale Games, and Assassin's Creed, as far as story written type of content. You are what is called the outsider. And no, sorry, outrider, not outsider, outriders. And the outriders can be considered vanguard, mercenary, or explorers that was supposed to pave the way for humanity, right? Whatever they find, they will report back and say, hey, this is what things are. We recommend, don't recommend. We're fighting, doing this, and we'll let you know what happened. They're in the military, they're kind of like the Green Berets, if you will, if I can say that. Who goes into enemy territory first, wipe everybody out, and set up a base camp. If I can say it that way. So, the problem here is that the game introduces there's technically only one enemy, and the enemy is the environment of the planet called Enoch. The storm or the anomaly basically destroys or alters creation itself that is living, and that's what you'll be fighting because you've been altered and you have superpowers that way. So that's the synopsis. So far, the game has been quite interesting on my end. Like I said, it reminds me of Defiance. It's like a high-end Defiance to me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it feels like a PC port.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a port. Yeah.
I
encourage little things that are weird.
I encourage you guys to check it out. Let's see. Lewis says definitely has a Division feel. That's like Destiny, where certain gears give you better DPS and orbs. Yo, it feels like Lewis has been playing this game and he's been playing underneath the, in stealth, man. We need to get this guy in and, see what we can do to chill with him in one of these games.
Get the stream going.
But yeah, it has that PC port. But the thing about it is, they said that the loot, there's crazy amount of loot, and I'm not sure if this might be a thing that devs say, but they said in this game there's over 100 years of lore in the game.
Holy crap! Okay.
So Dio can.
Well, that's another big plus, right? Like at least the lore.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for Dio to say something because I have no clue what 100 years of lore means, except for we just have a lot of content to talk about.
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to ask, what does 100 years of lore mean?
Yeah, like am I going to be reading for 100 years?
That sounds like such a generic statement.
I know, so I mean, what does that mean, Dio? You're the lore master, not for the game, but just on lore. Completely.
I would imagine they just mean there's 100 years of this game history, right? That they've done. So whatever's happened when you were asleep. Yeah, but I mean it's not shoved in your face, right? It's kind of like Destiny. When you find those things and you're getting the lore, but you have to log into whatever app it is to read it if you actually cared about doing that. At least it's in the game.
They put it in the game now, to be fair.
Yeah, they put it in the game, now. But
yeah, I think it's good for world building. Having that rich foundation there, so then you can expand upon. But
see, there's certain parts like this right here that's about to happen. Not to spoil it for anybody, but this is the cool part of So there are lame parts, but this is badass. That's badass. That's cool.
Yeah.
And
sorry to cut you off like that.
No. I'm sure Don is fine. But I'm sure there's some areas in the game, this is one of those areas where it's a 2-part section and you realize that once you've defeated them the first time, they start employing some guerrilla tactics into there. If you notice that they're moving around the stage constantly, nobody except for those with guns are staying in one area, but there's areas where there are melee characters that will just come at you. And then as those melee characters come at you, the guys with the guns are creeping up slowly in the stage as well. So that's another thing I wanted to discuss too, is that the game has world tiers.
Yes.
And the world tiers are world difficulty. They're not like level difficulty, like your character difficulty. They're like world difficulty, and it escalates every time you rank up that specific area, that world. So, it's kind of like a leveling system for the world. The more you kill, the better you are in it. Your difficulty gets higher, as you rank up as well. So, I find it very interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you can always go back down. Right? It reminds me of Diablo 3.
Okay.
That's pretty cool because like the harder it gets, the easier it is to find better loot, which is good. It rewards you for making it harder. Another thing that I thought was good, the enemies didn't feel overly spongy. You know, like of course they still take a lot of bullets because this is a looter shooter, but it didn't feel like Division, right? Like where. Oh man, I don't want to pick on the Division, but some enemies just took so long to kill, and they're just wearing like hoodies and burkas and stuff. Like that. They're not mutants and monsters.
Gameplay combat kind of felt natural in this game. Didn't feel like I was just shooting some dude with like 15 mags of bullets waiting to go down. It wasn't really a case. I mean, like your boss was saying, just the way enemies kind of move around you. Like it didn't feel like I was just shooting a bunch of targets, but they were actually kind of reacting and trying to actually go against me.
That too.
And one of the things that kind of, I guess we're only going to know when the game comes out is that you're not going to be killing enemies that are human all the time.
Yes. Which I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
You're going to be, taking down like serious altered creations.
That is aliens and mutants.
That is yet to be seen. So that's going to be interesting. And the higher you are as a level, the more gear you get, and that gear kind of defines how you play. Or you define. I'm sorry. So there's a, like Dio was talking about with the classes, you have one class, right? You have the Pyromancer, you have the Trickster, you have the Technomancer. I forgot who the other guy was, but that's you, Dio. You're like the tank.
The Devastator. I think.
This guy. No, you're not the Devastator.
I think that's what it was called. If I remember.
You will never be a Devastator. The Devastator. I can see why he chose the character. Anyways, so, and each character's class has 3 subclasses, and this is where Dio was talking about, where you as a character, your playstyle may not always be the same as some. You have 2 Devastators, right? If I jump in with a Devastator, my Devastator might do something completely different than his because we chose two different subclasses, and they have their own gear.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So they really thought this out of how they wanted you to look different in the game, and customize it to your own will. So yeah, that's it though. That's all I can get out of the game. The game is great as far as playability is concerned. I agree with the acting. The acting is a little bit sci-fi, like not I wouldn't say sci-fi like there's a guy, he sounds like an alien. That's not where I'm going with it, but I'm saying is like their acting sounds like you're watching something from the Sci-Fi Network.
Yeah, it's just kind of cheesy. It's like low budget.
So, but
it's not. Another thing in the movie that was really annoying was the shaky camera.
Yes. On the cutscenes mostly.
Yeah. It felt like there was some college cameraman who's really nervous for his first job, and he's just shaking the camera the whole time.
It was when this kind of beast coming down the rocks or whatever. I felt like it was just the camera is tracked on the character or something, and it felt unnatural.
I mean, even in scenes where everyone's kind of like just chill in a room, like it was still shaking. I don't know. It's just weird.
It feels to me like somebody who's into cinematography tried to make that realistic look and thought it was awesome and not really had like second or third eyes watching at the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, this is gonna be awesome. You're gonna have the shaky camera, like somebody's watching you for real. But it's like it just has too much sensitivity to that shakiness. If that makes sense. So, yeah. Dio, EA. Was it EA? Something's going on with EA and what is it?
Oh, in BioWare, right?
Yeah. What's going on?
So, I mean, this is possible good news, but I think a lot of people are just kind of running with it too early. But with Dragon Age 4, it's losing the multiplayer aspect of it. And this is because EA is kind of forced to eat its own words about, single player games being dead, right? They're like, oh, there's no more single player games are not the way of the future. They don't make any money. So, I mean, with the failure of Anthem and the success with Jedi Lost Order, they're thinking, one player games can still make a lot of money, which is true. But it's like they're almost forgetting Mass Effect Andromeda. That was a single player game that went down the drain from the same, dev team. So it's still a big possibility that the game could be bad. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, Dragon Age 4 is saved because you're making single player. It could still turn out really bad. There's other outliers for that, right? Like, are they still going to have microtransactions? Are they going to actually give the devs enough time to fix everything? Is BioWare actually, affording time and doing the things they're supposed to do, unlike they did with Anthem? There's still a lot of things that we don't know. And I mean, even now and that, most of the base BioWare team, well, not most, I think literally all of them are not there anymore. It's all like newbies, right? So
same name, but the legacy
under new management, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Legacy's gone, so it could still turn out crap. And I hope it turns out good, because my favorite was the first one, Dragon Age Origins. It was a great game. 2 I wasn't crazy about. 3 was okay, but I mean, I know a lot of people swear by Dragon Age Inquisition, but I still felt like it was better than 2, but it still wasn't at the same quality as the original. But I think in ways that's kind of good, because hopefully EA will kind of retract its claws at least for a few years and let games come out quality before they sink in again. But I don't know. We're just gonna have to see. I'm still taking it with a grain of salt, honestly.
Gotcha. Question: have you ever tried Divinity 2?
Divinity 2?
Yeah, 360 game Divinity 2. It
sounds so familiar.
It's super old, but it's almost like a Dragon Age type of game.
Okay.
And you have powers, and I played it, but I can't remember it because it's been super old. But I was hoping you might remember it and see what your thoughts were about it, because I was thinking about getting it and then maybe showcasing that as well on the podcast as one of those games like how we play the Outriders right now. But
kind of want to say I have it, like the disc, but I just never got to it. I'm like 90% sure I have the game. I have a lot of games, and I mean we all do. I'm sure. Yeah, you just had them in your library or physically, and you're like, I got this to play instead, right?
Right. Yeah. That was me and Hellblade for a long time.
So, other than that, we're gonna close off with this last one, and what's going on? There's this thing about Google Stadia and why they shut down, right? Now a lot of speculation was with the purchase of Bethesda pretty much solidifying the coffin, right? But there's news from the devs who were in the actual process of making games with Stadia and their take on it. I'll share that below after we're done with the podcast. But here's what we got. Stadia hired 150 developers to push the game exclusively for Stadia, right? And what one of the developers are saying is that from an executive level, they did not understand or grasp the navigation of how creative the landscape is, and cross-disciplinary. And I'm thinking about, when I say cross-disciplinary, is what Microsoft is now doing with the studios, where you have Gears and maybe the Initiative working together, you know what I'm saying, and building this franchise or building this new game, because you have two different types of skill sets. You have Unreal, and then you have Havoc engine or animation or particle effects. These guys know how to do it better, so they're gonna come in. I mean, Stadia brought in these guys to push Stadia.
Yep.
Not the game. Stadia. So when people are saying Microsoft lacks creative freedom, we can confirm based on this article. The article was through Wired. So again, I'll post that in the description. That the devs were kind of told that your game needs to sell Stadia. That's it. That's how it came across. Seeing that it's no longer there. No, not long. I can't say that Stadia no longer exists. I think Stadia is in a place right now, and it's kind of weird for me to say it this way, but they're like the modern day Game Boy system, where you have all of these devs who are probably a part of some other studio publisher, but they just make a game for Stadia because they can. you know, Stadia exists. They're no longer producing first party games. They closed that possibility down, but Stadia will still move on to support games.
I mean, I wouldn't compare it to Game Boy because Game Boy was successful.
Okay, I'm not trying to. I'm saying
compare it to Virtual Boy.
I'm trying to say okay, but I'm trying to say the position, right? Like,
no, I know what you mean.
It's there.
Yeah, it's limited.
And I'm thinking like an indie developer can be like, okay, if you want to make a Xbox game costs too much money, to make a PlayStation game costs too much money, so we can release it on Stadia and PC.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I think of them now.
I mean, if you want to waste your time,
you're making the game on PC, so technically, what else is there to do other than to release it, right? Is there like a whole bunch of red tape to get onto Stadia? Like, you have to add this and that to the game that is connected to the Stadia platform instead of just launching it? Because that would be crazy too. If that was
I would think that there would be, honestly. But I don't know for sure.
Oh, imagine.
It's one of the things that I think, as a new developer, getting on a platform like Stadia is good if Stadia has the player base, but obviously I haven't numbers, but I can't imagine it's.
Bro, I think everybody just packed their Stadia up and put it in a closet, be like, man, there's no more games.
To be honest, yeah.
Honestly, it'd probably be easier to get on the Switch because, believe it or not, there's a ton of like independent game companies on that. Like, I feel like there's more games on that than the PlayStation and the Xbox when it comes to like indie games. It's just crazy. I'll hear about a new indie game.
There's also a ton of indie games on later. Steam as well.
I got a question.
Oh yeah.
Don, Dio, with the Nintendo Switch,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just asking. This just came across my head here, but you know how right now they're kind of beta testing the China Steam.
Yes.
Does Nintendo have a hub for creatives to put their games onto the Switch, like that, like Steam? We just don't know. I mean, it's just probably called Nintendo Store, but I mean, I'm thinking Nintendo Store is for Nintendo's exclusives games, right?
No.
I haven't heard anything about indie games. Do they?
Oh, dude, the Nintendo Store has a ton of indie games. Like I said, like before, like I'll hear of a new indie game, and like literally it'll be on a Switch like a few weeks later, and I'm like, wow, that's super quick, you know. So I mean, if I think you can even look at the indie games through the Nintendo website at their online store and see they have a ton of games. I think they probably do have more games compared to like the PlayStation and Xbox like combined.
So
like people are sleeping on it. Like it's really outselling everybody.
But here's my question then: can we actually contribute the success of Game Pass to Microsoft, or the influences of Nintendo and what they're doing? Because if Nintendo has all these games, is Nintendo sitting on games and not making them subscription based? I mean, could they have done the Game Pass themselves?
I think they definitely could have did the Game Pass themselves. I just don't think that they have like the strong like, you know, architecture for it, right? Like when it comes to like online. Like, you know, how like Microsoft does. But I really feel that the only reason Nintendo is able to do this, because I mean, what's the, like, you know, you could argue like, oh well, Nintendo's always been the way it is, but the only reason like it's able to have all the support is because of how well the Switch is sold, right?
Okay.
The Wii did sold pretty well too, but you didn't have this much third-party support with the Wii, right? And the Wii U. Where with this, you even see like honestly, there's even mobile games on the Switch.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but I mean they're selling, right? They're making money off of it.
That is interesting.
I mean, their online play, like their actual service, is nothing compared to the Xbox Live, and I mean it's even worse than the PlayStation Live or whatever it's called.
Okay. So basically, it's kind of like a I don't want to say like an eBay of games on the Nintendo platform.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I don't want to say. I'm trying not to make it sound bad, but I'm trying to visualize how this looks.
You're doing a great job.
No, the store itself.
Thank you, Don. Go ahead, Dio.
No, the store itself is really good. It's set up well. You know, it's intuitive, and there's a ton of games. There's always great deals too. Like there's always like 500 plus games that are on sale at any one time. It's just that the online service itself, like to play online with your friends, is very limited compared to Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, isn't that
where you can't really message each other? You can't get into party chat.
You have to use a code, like your console code to connect with a friend. I think something like that, right?
Well, there's that too. That's a completely different
friend codes and all that. Gosh.
Yeah, so that's to say, you know, protect people and kids and stuff like that. But even if you're a friend with somebody else, like chatting and all that kind of stuff is not really a real thing unless you download an app on your phone.
Gotcha.
But at that point, you might as well just use Discord, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Gosh.
And that's why I thought, like, you know, when there was rumors with Microsoft and Nintendo, I thought eventually, Xbox Live could come to it because that's their big weakness, right?
That's the one thing they need,
yeah.
Is a service like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. There's still time.
Guys, this is it. This is we have reached the end of the show here. As you can see, we were playing the Outriders. That's what I've been trying to play. I've also played the MLB show 2021. Very good simulation baseball game. I'm still having to get into that. I encourage you guys to give that a shot. It's a game on the Xbox, but it's produced by PlayStation Studios. And they're coming out sometime this month. Dio, what have you been playing, and where can people find you at?
This week I've been playing a lot of Dead by Daylight, mostly because, believe it or not, my kids actually enjoy playing it with me. Especially my littlest daughter, she likes to play the killer, and she's probably the creepiest out of all of us because she'll say little things too, like, "I'm gonna get you, just give me a hug, daddy."
Oh gosh. Don't let me take
Oh wow.
But that's what I've been playing mostly. Besides, you know, Outriders just every day, but I still gotta, you know, get the whole social networking thing. I'm not really a social kind of person, but hopefully the stream will get set up soon, and that'll be enough for me for social.
Cool. Well, you might want to get that started sooner than later, so that you have your fans already waiting for you when you become a solo streamer. You know what I'm saying? They wanna connect to the Dio, who's on the Digital Cypha Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Don CJG, what have you been playing, and where can people get you at?
How you doing? You can all find me on Twitter, Instagram, basically everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, @PadonCAG. But yeah, I've been playing Halo for the most part. You know me. Shock. Beautiful. The Halo guy plays Halo. But no, this weekend I'll be playing Outriders demo, and the latest Master Chief Collection flighting program just came out last night.
The who?
So I'll be test the flighting program for Master Chief Collection.
Nice.
So
and that's where the
if you're a Halo insider, you will have access to that.
If I was a Halo insider back in the 360 days.
Hey, look. Yeah, just go on Halo Waypoint, sign up, and yeah, pretty much everyone gets invited.
Cool.
That's fun.
Sounds good.
And just an FYI, those of you who are going to jump into the Outriders game, the progression carries over. I believe that's what they said, that your progression carries over. So do what you can, max rank, get as much as you can get done in the game. The game is going to last until the game releases, so you still have time.
Ooh.
All right.
That's April 1st, right?
I believe so.
Maybe that's a joke. Putting on us. We don't know.
Quote me on that, because
All right.
all of a sudden,
they're like, gotcha.
they can say pre-orders gets in, whatever. So who knows? Nothing has been determined as far as how they release, except for dates. But again, my name is Ebonics. We got Diozaels, and we got the Don CJG.
Big Don.
We are signing out. Have a good weekend, guys.
Enjoy.
Peace.
Thanks.